You're listening to The People's Pitch, the official podcast of Minneapolis City Soccer Club, brought to you by Football Stadium Prince. Let's start the show.
And as I talked about just a couple minutes ago, as Joe Watt stands over this one, he appears to be the one taking the penalty here. This is a huge confidence booster if you're Duluth.
Worst case scenario for City right here.
And it stopped!
Yes!
And it stopped!
Totally redeems himself.
Matt Elder redeeming himself. Oliver with the right foot. The shot is goal!
Oliver!
Justin Oliver will break the scoreless tie. And it is 1-0 Minneapolis City. It's Hutton now on the offense with the left foot. It is now 2-0 Minneapolis City.
Good finish.
Nick Hutton taking his quick victory lap.
Welcome back again, friends. This is the People's Pitch Podcast, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City Soccer Club. I'm your host, John, and with me, as always, is the Nate Morales. Nate, we had all soccer things this past match week. Is your head this week like mine is?
Yeah, flummoxed, John. I think flummoxed is a good way to describe how I'm feeling. I'm flummoxed with this team. I'm not going to be all doom and gloom tonight, but as the weeks in this short season tick by, I think there's going to start to be more and more questions that need asking if things continue the way that they've been going. But like we were talking about a little bit pre-show, like I'm going to say that for an NPSL season, this is pretty normal for Minneapolis City. I think we've had a couple of really standout seasons recently, but a loss to Duluth and a draw on the road to Sioux Falls has never been the end of the world for us, and I don't think it's going to be this year. I'll start the show with that bit of positivity. Match week 3 is in the books, and we've once again got a little bit of ups, a little bit of downs to talk about. We're going to lead off with the kids. The UPSL team is just a real bright spot for the club this summer, but a big test is on the way. Coming up this week. The Forever Trap game happened in Sioux Falls, like I said, versus the Thunder. The NPSL squad came away with 1 point, and now we've got a midweek test followed up by a quick turnaround for a Friday game. So Wednesday, Friday this week is going to be tough for the NPSL team. Hopefully we can come away with something there. And the USL2 side kicked off prep week with, I would say, an interesting match to say the least. So, John, like the first 15 minutes of an all-inclusive trip to Mexico, let's just unpack all this stuff, just toss it on the bed and get to the pool bar.
Sounds good.
John, quite the milestone this weekend as well. I want to make sure that we're giving credit where it is due. Aaron Olson hit a milestone that so far has been untouched by Minneapolis City players, beating out Will Kidd for most club appearances or most club minutes. What are the details on that, John?
It's appearances, so career appearances or caps, as the soccer diehards call it. So
yeah,
AO surpassed Will Kidd, like you mentioned. I mean, what a great accomplishment for AO, not just because of like the milestone at its like true core of just 59. It was 58 or 59. 59 games. We'll call it 59. 59 games for one amateur team at this level is almost unheard of. I think the only player ever to do that is like Vinny Bell, and he's probably logged like 300 games for Cleveland. So like at our level, it's the turnover rate of players is very high, even though we tend to be able to get those guys for like 3-4 seasons. But AO's been here from the beginning. Just a stand-up dude. He's a gamer. I feel like he probably would have, I mean, minus the COVID year, which Will Kidd would have already been part of, that we lost. AO had some serious injuries that he'd come back from. So that's another storyline to this whole thing, is that, he's battled back from surgeries and just continuing to go at it. And he's been our he's kind of like our club captain. Like he's been with us forever. And it's just been great to see him and do what he does for City, but also just been great to get to know him as a friend and like just to see how genuine of a person he is. And whether you've battled him on the pitch and you don't think he's a genuine nice person, he's just a gamer. But off the field, he's the first guy who'll grab a beer with you, shake your hand, tell you a good game, because he's just all about the love of the game, Nate. So congrats to AO.
Woo!
So from a UPSL perspective, the Futures boys just kept on rolling again this past week as they headed down to Rochester to face Rochester FC and dispose of them via the scoreline of 4-0. For context, Nate, MC2 won 3-2 last year versus basically the same squad that they had last summer down there. Some changes, yes, obviously. It's not apples to apples, but why the heck not mention it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why not? I think it's important because we went into this season with, I would say, lower expectations for these Futures kids, right? In the UPSL, and it's turning out to be, like, joke has been on us. Like, they are rolling, and they're looking really, really good. Some of us were side-eyeing the stream, John, or maybe they might have had it up on a second monitor. But for those that couldn't make the trip to Rochester or catch the stream, hit the high points for us, because this was another great performance for these Future kids.
Well, the game was pretty much Route 1 with City on the gas from the jump, and really never looked back. What I really take away from this match, Nate, is that these guys have a few things going for them. Number one, they just go out and fucking play. Like, it's not overly complicated. Like, I've seen some of, like, the pre and post-match stuff, like analysis and planning, and so have you, that the Future staff like gives these players. And when I say it's not complicated, some of that stuff is a little complicated, right? It's looking at percentages of like, 54% of second balls we lost. We need to change that. Like, yeah, you get into stats, and it's just numbers are complicated, right? But they're not overthinking things. They're just going out and playing and like trying to clue in on some things that really will turn the tide. Right, because like not every game can be like a 6-0, 4-0 type game, because there are some teams around the corner here that and we'll talk about one here in a bit, that are quality in a league that we don't know what's going to show up on any given day. So like you have to look a little bit at the competition that they played against, but they still have to perform. So that they're just not overcomplicating things. They're just going out and playing soccer, and it's working right now. The second one is they've revived the brotherhood a little bit. Like we saw like the old guard kind of a page turned, right? And, we only have a few of the old guard left. But part of the thing that I know JJ and staff were like really trying to keep a keen eye on is like the city way and the brotherhood. And that's kind of tough. Excuse me. That's kind of tough to like just like create out of thin air when you have like a program like the Futures program. But over the winter, in where they were competing against each other, now they're competing with each other. That brotherhood like aspect of like them just having fun playing together, and they have a fine system like the first team does, where you leave your gear, you got to pay $5 to go to the team party at the end of the year. You get nutmegged, you get a yellow card. It's not tactical. You gotta throw some bucks down. So like those little things, I think, are like helping with the positive message and like the not overcomplicating, and they're reaping the rewards of it. We talked about the physicality of the UPSL, and that was a concern when we did our kickoff show as a main issue that we might run into, but. To date, and I will emphasize to date, we talked about maybe some other teams coming down the pipeline. It seems not to be an issue. Yes, there's times where it peeks its head out a little bit. But by and large, it really hasn't been like a game changer like we thought it could be, because of how well this team has started to play a little bit quicker, a little, faster with purpose, instead of like hanging onto the ball and like waiting on your decision making. Like the kids are learning that like it's a different level of soccer, which is awesome to see. Next thing, hashtag Mutu watch has been it's been in full effect since he went full Slim Shady and dyed his hair blonde. He scored 2 goals since that's happened. But you're seeing like some of the guys that were in the club last year in the Futures program, like Mutu, who are being leaned on as a veteran presence. And we talked about like it's just a bunch of younger kids, right? Like some of them are children. Let's call it like it is. The veteran presence in this team is like 18, 19 years old. So it's really good to see a player like Moo taking advantage of not only performing but also being that lead by example type player. And there's many other ones. I bring up Mutu because the hashtag has been on social media, and I had to get in a little bit of a Slim Shady dig on his blonde hair. He looks good though. He's pulling it off for sure.
One thing that you mentioned, John, that I wanted to touch on really quick before we talk about maybe your standout performers is you brought up that like they're just going out and playing. It's nothing complicated, and that I want to point out that kind of makes it sound like they're just kind of showing up and winging it, but that's not true. I think the beauty of this futures program, at least the way JJ is running it, and I say this because knowing this, that I got a sneak peek at one of his, game prep documents, is that there really are some nice tactical plans for these games, right? But because, like you said, these are high school kids for the most part, or kids that are fresh out of school, it's not super complicated. It's like there are 3 things you need to think about when you get the ball. 1, 2, 3. That's your progression. Think about it. Make your decision quickly and correctly, and move on, right? And I really liked that. I really like that document, and I really like those kind of that like minimal prep and the simple things that he asks this team to do because it's working.
Right. And like at the end of the day, soccer is a simple game. Like it's overcomplicated in some aspects, but at the end of the day, it's like you got to beat the guy in front of you with a pass, with a shot, like with a cross, like defend, take the ball away from them. Like they're simple concepts, and the slope can get slippery when you start talking about things. And I think you're right. I think that the staff is doing a great job of just making expectations clear, and then and then to the credit of the players, they're executing that. And we're talking about young kids who can, in most aspects, probably don't listen to adults. Right? So, well, good on everybody. And it's kind of been part of the bright spot as far as like standout performers go for the match. Number 1 for me was Keba Jabeth, who is coming back from his freshman year at Augsburg. He was in the Futures Winter Session. He had big shoes to fill because obviously we'll talk about where Loic was on the weekend. Loic was with the MPSL team. So your standout striker and game changer is removed, and then it's like, who's going to step up? And Keba stepped up, scored a fantastic free kick goal, chipped in with a penalty, was kind of a menace up top all day for Rochester to have to deal with, and he was next man up, and he performed. So for me, that was a big one. The next one is the whole back 5. So I don't want to get into like specific names. We're just going to call it the back 4 and the goalkeeper. Those guys, again, collectively getting another clean sheet against a team that does have players that can be dangerous. Even though they didn't show it on the day, they have that ability. And I thought they did a really, really good job of keeping another clean sheet. And as we know, goal differential matters. And, whether it's the first tiebreaker or it's not far from the first, that stuff matters. And when you're winning 4-0, you can turn it off, and it can be 4-1, 4-2 pretty quick. And then the potential of what happens later on in the season gets disrupted by turning off the faucet. So they kept their themselves locked in, and I thought they did a really great job.
Nice. Well, next up, John, Wednesday night is, I would say, the true test that we previewed a couple weeks back before this game got moved. We're heading to Burnsville to take on Valora FC in a battle of undefeateds. Valora boasts former Mr. Soccer and UW Milwaukee standout Swad Suljic, who has already shown that he's their guy, and he's been part of at least half of their goals already, I think, John, right? Valora racked up 9 points in their first week in action, putting up like 7 goals in that time. After a little break, then they came back and they beat Granite City 3-1 on Sunday. So this truly is like a test of a table-topping test for Minneapolis City of some high-powered UPSL offenses. They've scored 10 goals on the season. Our UPSL team has scored 10 last week. Let's see who can keep it rolling.
Yeah, and I will say, like, to add on to it, first time they're facing a team that has a game changer, and you mentioned
Hmm.
it's Suad. There's other good players on that team, but like he's the type of guy that can change a game by himself, and we haven't really seen that in the first couple games that they faced. We've kind of just seen like teams kind of trot out, like maybe not be as organized, don't have that guy they can just lean on to just get the ball and take over a game. So it's going to be interesting. I'm going to be definitely interested in this one. Hopefully, I think there is a stream for this one. So hopefully we can check that one out.
Yes, sir. While the future was running wild in Rochester, the NPSL side was experiencing a tougher time in Sioux Falls. Historically, I don't know if it's because of the long trip or if it's because of the history of the Sioux Falls Club or the traditional what's the word? I guess like how good they usually are or how good they usually aren't. This is totally a trap game that has seen us struggle to leave with all 3 points year in and year out. This year, though, probably should have been different. John, you were there. Let's talk about how things went in Sioux Falls because a lot of people might be a little down on this result.
Well, first thing I want to say, Nate, is for those parents that might be listening, the Futures players were not running wild through Rochester. They were under control. They had adults around, so it wasn't like a pool party at a youth tournament where the parents are at the pool bar, at the bar at the hotel. No, they were under control, folks. Just want to put that out there. So I was on the bench this week helping out Derek Johnson, who moved a seat over from the assistant chair to lead the team. Coach Marco Capaverde had an absence that he had to take care of. So I took on a supporting role, which is kind of my MO these days. Like we have plenty of coaches do jobs. So I just kind of support where needed. That was the case on this trip to Sioux Falls. And I think for me personally, it was great because I was able to kind of get a closer look at the action. Like we're up in the booth, like maybe I have a headset on, maybe I'm doing some stuff on social media and I can have an opinion, but until you're like down in it and you're trying to problem solve, you're trying to analyze like a little bit of a different way. It's kind of tough to see how the sausage is made, really. So it was good for me personally. Like I really enjoyed, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to do that stuff still. But as far as the match goes, it was a similar tale that we've seen. That was quickly followed up by what I consider the best bit of fight that we've had from our senior group this season. So we've seen a come from behind win on the USL2 side in our match against Peoria on the road.
Draw.
Come from behind draw. Yeah. To be able to secure a road point, and we know points on the road, if whether it's 1 or 3, are because of these short seasons. And I thought that even though we had that fight that from the senior group, this was a different type of fight. Sioux Falls, like almost every team in the North, has leveled up. So I want to start there. Like from top down, they're under new ownership, which is one thing. In the past, we show up and the locker rooms are like a double wide trailer in the middle of fucking nowhere. It's usually hot as fuck or cold as hell. So there's that. Last season we were moved to like a grass surface to be a showcase game for like a youth tournament, and it rained, and then the grass was long, and like it's just like all this shit kind of comes together. We roll up this year and we're playing at this like high school stadium, Harrisburg High School Stadium, which was a fucking university basically. Like the facilities there were better than most. Turf was awesome. The hospitality was great. They were really, really nice to us. The locker room was really nice. So it was a little bit of a change of pace. So they've leveled up there. They've also leveled up on the field. There's some familiar names. We saw the Haggertys, we saw the Wimmers. There was some familiar Gustavus soon to be alumni that were that I saw that were suited up. I saw Stevenson Storm, but he didn't feature. Maybe he's injured, but like he was back. I'm not 100% sure, but I saw Nigel in the stands, and I'm pretty sure he was with his mom. So there's that. So for those folks who are wondering if Nigel's mom's still alive, I believe I saw her, or it was someone different that looked like Nigel's mom. And
Why wouldn't she be alive?
I don't know. You never know.
You never know.
Nigel's not playing anymore. So, but anyway, so like it was different. They leveled up and they came out with energy, which they typically do at home. We get them on the road and it's a little bit sometimes a different story, but they had high energy. They got the ball forward as fast as possible every time they got it, and that's where we look at the contrasting styles. We were more content to keep the ball, move it around, break through via possession, like try to like calm down the energy, which is what we do, and I think we do it well. But again, that kind of cost us a little bit with a mistake in the defensive third. And it's not just like what happens to us; it happens to anyone who is a possession style soccer team. Like it can be death by 1,000 paper cuts, and you move down the field with the ball, and then you just bang one in the goal, and it's just like you can't stop it. But the antithesis of that is that if it doesn't work, there's the potential of danger with any mistakes or errant passes can be capitalized in front of your face, and that's what happened on the first goal. I thought it was kind of a little bit of a fluke, but then we're down 1-0, and we're down early. The response from us, I think, was to kind of increase that pressure, and then I think that's when things started to change a little bit as far as the action goes. I thought that outside of their main chance where they finished, which was like 1 shot, 1 goal, and we have like 4 shots and no goals. We had a lot more of the possession. We were starting to defend well. We were figuring out the long ball. We were probing for where the chess pieces had moved, and I thought we were responding the right way, but we were down a goal. Couldn't find the back of the net in the first half. Coming out of the half, the message in the locker room that Derek had was very clear. It was, hey guys on the field, we had a plan. It kind of worked. They're up 1-0, not the end of the world. If we get 1 goal before they do, we know historically that's where the floodgates open, and we'll be on the front foot again. We just need that. But players on the field, you have 10 minutes to figure it out, or the changes are going to start happening. And I thought that was a very good message from Derek, and it kind of like showed the sense of urgency to the players, and it got them excited, like riled up again the right way to like go out and like let's go get this thing. Well, we know that didn't happen. I shouldn't say it didn't happen. We started out on the front foot, one minor breakdown, and we saw it happen. Same thing happened like in the first half. Sioux Falls was able to get the go-ahead goal, or the 2-0 lead. So no disrespect to the guy who scored the goal, but here's how it broke down. That guy in the run of play, he's one of the central midfielders. That guy in the run of play, and I apologize, I don't remember his name, was having a real tough time under pressure and was kind of turning the ball over a lot. And with pressure amped up on him, he was trying to go backwards or side to side. We were picking those passes off and getting good counterattack opportunities. So he was having kind of a rough day. His first touch was a little bit away from him. And then for like 15 seconds of his life, he turned into fucking Pele and takes a ball out of the air and rips like a perfectly like just driven volley into the back of the net. Great goal for him. But I was like, God damn it. Like, what can we do, man? Like, it's like, is it just not our time? Like, what's going on here? So that happened. And then it was like true gut check time. So the changes started to come via personnel at first. So we started getting some guys in, and then that followed up by tactical changes. So shifting formation, getting a little bit more direct. And I think that is where everything changed. As soon as we went to 3 in the back and 2 up top, and you can talk about like, yeah, the possession style is great, and it is. And some people will be like, well, yeah, John, of course you had more pressure because you put 4 attackers on. You had 4 forwards on. Yes, I get that. But at that given moment in the game, it started putting them on their heels. They were only getting out of their half with long balls. time was ticking, and we were chance after chance were coming. We weren't able to find the back of the net. But Leweek comes into the fray, was able to get on the score sheet 5 minutes after being introduced. Shocker. It's kind of what he does. He just has that special something that, like, he scores goals, and we really needed that. He comes on, scores that goal, 2-1, plenty of time left to be able to get an equalizer, maybe a third goal. Cole draws the penalty kick, ends up resulting in a second yellow. Now we're up a guy. Unfortunately, he misses the kick, and we're like, God damn it! Who did we wrong to have all this shit happen to us? And then stoppage time is literally leaking out, and the pressure that the team had applied really put Sioux Falls into a paper bag, and they couldn't get out of it. Leweek was able to
paper bag.
Yeah, I mean, like, they were just flailing around and, like, without purpose at the end of the game. And Cole, give him tons of credit, having the negative of missing the penalty. He threw his body into a 50-50 tackle, and it kept the ball from, which could have been a clearance, to keeping it in the defensive third. It gets to Leweek quickly. Leweek beats 3 guys, finds a window, scores the goal, 2-2 draw. So if I had to summarize it, could that have been 3 points? Yes, it could have been 3 points 9 out of 10 times. But on the 10th time, it wasn't. But that fight I talked about, like, the guys didn't give up, and the coaching staff didn't give up, and it quickly turned it into any chance of positive that you can take out of it was what we were able to kind of drag out of it, and that was coming with 1 road point. And
sure,
we've tied them before and gone on to do great things in the conference. And like you said, this is it's kind of like par for the course. It's a trap game for us. Like, it's tough to win there sometimes, and we found that out this weekend.
John, the theme for me tonight is positive and purposeful movement of the ball. So I was at 9th Street watching the game with the fans, and while the Sioux Falls stream was crappy, it really was clear that our skill level was far and away, like, so much better than Sioux Falls. And it wasn't just in the second half like you described. I would say we had so much possession in and around the box for
chances
the entire game. I described it in the moment as, like, we're just casually able to, like, dribble and pass to keep possession. But I can't tell you how many times we were screaming at the TV for players to shoot. Like, please, somebody, anybody, shoot. Plenty of positivity in this one.
Didn't Lionel rattle the bar in the first half too, like the crossbar?
Honestly, John, impossible to tell with that stream. It was not great. It was not great. But he might have. I will say that when enter Leweek, he's a closer, and we really need closers on this team. Like, all the guy does is score goals. I feel like a part of that is because he's one of the few players that'll just, like, that has an instinct and will shoot the ball. And maybe that's, I don't know, maybe that's just my bias because he has been one of the only players on this team to score across 3 leagues, but 2 leagues, I guess, 3 leagues if you count the US Open Cup. But, I need to see more offense from the rest of our players.
Mm-hmm.
I'll touch more on this in the next segment, but for years, like you said, the city brand of soccer is calm, possession-based play, reflecting that side-to-side nature of some of, I would say, the great programs that our players came from, punctuated by those diagonal passes forward to hit the speed on the wing. And on occasion, a team would figure us out and hit us on the counter and make us pay. I think the word is out, though, John, and we're seeing that every week from every team at every level is looking to counter Minneapolis City any chance they get. And we got to adjust.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you at all. But I also, like, you look at, we'll just take the MPSL since we're talking about it. The league has just gotten better. I mean, look at what's happening across the division. Sioux Falls has been narrowly losing out on 3 points in some of their other games against teams in the top half. Eris beat Joy and didn't just win; they beat Joy 3-0 at home in St. Louis Park. So if that's any indicator of just like how this year is going to go, it does go down to, if people think they've figured us out. Soccer is always about have a solid foundation for plan A, have a slightly less solid plan B.
Yep.
And then if plan B is not working, C and D have to just get direct and go. And like just get the ball away from your goal and as close to their goal as possible. This is how soccer goes. And you're seeing that like more teams are across the board, not just against us, but they have more of a solidified plan A. And so just throwing guys out there and playing. We talked about it with Duluth. We're seeing how like they're tactically set up better. They're executing better because they have that tactical setup that they didn't maybe have as well in the past years. But when to go back to your closer comment, you're 100% right. I mean, you gotta put the ball in the net, regardless of what the other team's doing, and Luik's been that person for us, and it's been great, and like good for him, right? Like he's just taking these opportunities.
He's got to be on this list. I'm sure there are other players though from this game who you feel were standout on the day.
Xavier Zenge again, like that guy. It was funny too because so he was. If you watch the game in the first half, he was able to get forward and get a lot of time on the ball. Him and Lionel on the right side were able to kind of do what they wanted. But Xavier had to obviously be tracking back to stop some of those counters. But then he'd get the ball, and it was like effortlessly he'd just bomb forward, whether he had it or whether he was the weak side guy trying to fill in for a cross or whatever it might be. Just all over the place. And the funny thing was when we moved to 3 in the back, I just mentioned to Derek, I was like, I don't know what you think, but we need to get Xavier closer to the goal. And he's like, yep, I agree with you. It'll be like in the next 2-3 changes we're going to make. And then Xavier made like another forward run and like he ripped a shot that I think like tore the goalie's arm off. I mean, the dude just laced one. I leaned over to Derek and I was like, we might want to just make that second or third change now because we need to use him forward before he burns out because he was getting on back. But another game changer, and we saw it. We'll talk about his inclusion in the game the day prior here in a second. But number 2 for me, Jamison Charles getting his first appearance. I thought he was fantastic in the middle. I think there were still times where he had some giveaways, and it was. Some of it was lack of communication because I was down there where like he would turn the wrong way and he didn't know that he was turning the wrong way. Someone just told him to turn, maybe give a look, but a guy closed down quick and he had a few giveaways. But when he was being communicated to, he was fighting super hard in the middle, winning tackles. When he had the ball, he was smooth on it. He was kind of trying to keep possession in crazy times. I think he did a really good job. And then obviously Luik comes on. First 5 minutes, scores a goal, get us on the front foot. Then it was constantly dangerous. Every time the ball went up to him, it was like something's gonna happen. And
here it comes.
Either he was creating. I thought he did a really good job, which is something that like we haven't seen a lot from him, and that's getting others around him involved. Because typically you just see him getting the ball and scoring. But he was like making that final pass. We were getting opportunities. Where that he realized he couldn't do it all himself and was leaning on the other guys, and then ultimately getting that game winner. And it was so funny on the bus ride home. Lionel was like, Luik, like, how do you hit that shot on the first one? I don't know. I just kicked it. He's like, and we're like, you hit it with such like you chipped the keeper, but with such pace that it was like normally people would be like kind of lofting it, and he just like ripped into it and it like this. Dipped over the keeper under the crossbar, and he's like, I just kicked it. We're like, that's a kid answer.
Yep.
So I mean, I thought that regardless of not getting the 3 points, I think there was a lot of positives to come out of this, even though it might seem a little negative because we didn't win.
That's all right. That's okay. We've got 2 big NPSL games this week, and how important that second one becomes depends on how we do on Wednesday night against against Med City in Rochester. Med City, John, I would say they're in a similar situation to us, arguably underperforming against the traditional lower part of the table. It hasn't really cost them quite as much since they don't have a loss yet, but a similar draw against Sioux Falls and a couple of 1-goal squeakers against Eris and Dakota Fusion don't bode well for this team. Unfortunately for the Crows, though, Med City has scored one more goal on the season than us. I would call this a statement game, John, one that we really need to win to prevent potentially putting ourselves out of the playoff race early on.
Yeah, I mean, every time we play, we'll call them any game between, we'll call it the big three, right? The people who have actually like finished in the top half of the division historically, it's a statement game. Like you never want to leave it to the last game of the season, right? Like it's just what we figure was the magic point number. 18 points wins you the title.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that.
Might change now. It changes year to year now that more teams are kind of coming. Another team added in.
We'll just call it the magic number. We figured out the magic number. And a lot of times what we've seen with Med City is they have the hot start, and then they falter at the back half. We haven't seen outside in the last 2 seasons where they've had kind of the slow start in the beginning. But what we found, and we're kind of in it now too, the slow start can really end your season by like the first week of June. It really can, depending upon how the other teams are performing. So like with what I've seen from Med City is, once again, quality talent there. The gelling process to get them on the front foot and to get them moving is a little bit slower. So we either see them gel slower, finish stronger, make the playoffs. We see them start strong, fall, gel quickly, falter, miss the playoffs. So do I know which one we're in yet? I don't know. But, if Duluth keeps doing their job, and I mean, even if we, I believe, 2 weeks from now, we get Duluth at home. Even if that goes the way of the Crow, there's still an opportunity for them not to falter to any of the other teams in the division. They haven't really gone on the road yet outside of playing us. So there's still that going on the road, but this truly might be the playoff, like the second playoff decider this early in the season. So I think it really is a statement game, and we have had success down in Rochester. So hopefully we can continue that.
For sure. Because then on Friday, John, we've got that game that should also be a statement for the positive, and that's Dakota Fusion coming to town. Like I said, depending on how Wednesday goes, like we might really need to win this game. The Wi-Fi enabled Megabus hasn't brought a lot of competition in the past, and this year seems to be no exception. Dakota already has losses to Med City and a perplexing Joy athletic team, and they drew against Sioux Falls. And the Sioux Falls have only draws. That's funny to me. But that gets me thinking that this is going to be a healing game. This could be a healing game for Minneapolis City. Yeah, three games, 3 points. That's funny. This
have draws, huh?
This Dakota game on Friday could be a cleansing game, we'll call it, for Minneapolis City to get all the to get any of the bad feelings out.
I'm just looking here. Yeah, Sioux Falls Thunder, 3 games, 3 draws, 4 goals, 4 goals against. And who have they played? Let me just look real quick. Fusion, Med City, and us.
Yeah.
And they got Joy, Med City, Fusion, Duluth, Eris, us again, Twin Stars. So 2 draws at home, 1 on the road. So not bad. Honestly, not bad. I forgot to mention that they had a European coach on their bench who was supremely dressed in like the one I've ever seen, the tightest jeans I've ever seen, and an awesome brown bomber leather jacket. Like,
are you talking about Sioux Falls?
Yeah, like the coaching attire was incredible for that guy. And I don't know if it was it might have been Victor Naranjo. But yeah, he was dressed to the nines. But to talk about the Fusion, I'm almost lost on a tangent here. So to talk
Where
about
am
Fusion, Fusion, like most teams, leveled up. I think they got some really good personnel in. The pedigree of some of their players, I think, is a little bit stronger than it has been in the past. However, for them, I think the tough part is brought on a new head coach who has NPSL North playing experience. He played with let me go back and find out what his name is here. Bear with me.
Samuel Winning.
Sam Winning. He played with Duluth, so he knows a winning culture. But he's young, and I think that what they're in is like young head coach who checks a lot of the boxes, new influx of talent. How do we make it all work? And how do we travel? Like, how do we travel? It's always the biggest thing, whether you have a mega bus or not. So I think that you're definitely, seeing from them some early stumbling blocks, but I look at them as like the potential spoiler once they get their shit together. And this game is like every game from now on is a must need 3 points for Minneapolis City. So to falter to Fusion at home would be a giant step back. And I don't think that's something that our players and our staff are going to take. Like this one, in the eyes of City fans and players and staff, this one needs to be 3 points.
Yeah, that's for sure. John, we speaking of games that we're gonna have to start winning sooner or later. We hosted our first USL2 home game at the friendly rented confines of Blake School, and it didn't go quite as planned.
That was Breck.
That was Breck. That was the other B. Breck
yeah.
School. Didn't go quite as planned. Hoping to play a whole game like we played Peoria for the last 10 minutes of the last one. City was instead stifled and again punished for being caught out of position. Kyle will have the full recap up on the pod page. But John, what did we see from the booth?
Okay. Number one for me is, despite the fact that Peoria rolls up and looks like they're not serious, and they're
their kits are like rec league t-shirts.
Yeah, they don't look the part. But let me tell you this: like, those guys can fucking play soccer. They are good. They are good soccer players. Don't let Peoria, Illinois fool you, and don't let the way they look fool you. These guys can play. They lead the division right now, and they go into Des Moines next week. What if they pull off a win at Des Moines? Then what are we saying about our draw on the road to them? You know, like that's how deep and how talented the differences between USL2 and NPSL are. Like, we talked a little bit about it. Like, last time Eli scored 2 goals was a 6-1 victory over Duluth. This time he scores 2 goals and it has to pull us back from the depths to get a point on the road. Like, that is a very true and accurate statement. Like, this league is tough. And these players from Peoria come from quality backgrounds. Justin Fritas, their striker, like, the dude, like, in one sequence, like, one of his center midfielders ripped a shot that was like going into traffic, and the dude kills it, makes a touch, and puts a shot on target that like just narrowly misses. Like, that type of skill check is you only see from really high level players. So I want to get it out there that these guys can fucking play. I do think that we got caught not being able to adapt to how the game changed a little bit out of our and that's where we paid for it. Like, I think that I watched the game back again, and you could kind of see the coaching staff and we couldn't hear what they were saying, but you could see that they were kind of instructing their guys to kind of bypass our mid-level block that we were in from a pressure standpoint through the air, and like find that pocket of space in between. And if all else fails, like, isolate your best player in Fritas against one central defender. And a lot of times it was Jonah having to like beg, borrow, and steal to fight off this guy, which I thought he did a really good job for like 80 of the 90 minutes against him. So like, we got caught out and we paid for it. And again, that's just soccer. But I thought that like we did make some adjustments. It took a little bit longer for us to make some of those adjustments than I think even the staff would probably like, but we made the adjustments. to counter what we were seeing from Peoria, I don't think that we had a lot of attacking efforts, but they weren't really like fruitful efforts until the second half. So we did kind of flip the script, and we had those chances. We just couldn't find the back of the net. So I think the main thing for me is that we have to have like good short-term memories in not only the first year of USL2, but also in the coming years when things don't go our way, because right around the corner is just another quality team. You know,
Every
there's
time.
every time. Like, we haven't seen the Canadian teams, but I have to believe that they're also strong in their own respects. So, you know, and even we've seen from St. Croix, they had an embarrassing loss to the Menace, which that hurts anybody. They fought back hard. You know, Peoria was I watched that game a little bit tired. You could tell they didn't have much energy as they did against us. Friday, Sunday. They like, even St. Croix, they, you know, like, they're a new team too. They showed some fight and were able, you know, they put up a really good effort against the table topping team. So we have to just watch our backs, because every week's going to be tough. And so we got to wash away the past, and we got to get that hunger back again. And I think if we can do that, then we're going to start seeing some results go in our favor.
Yeah, I hope so, John. I want to go back to my positive, purposeful movement point. And this time, instead of on the offensive side, I want to talk about on the defensive side. Too many times you and I saw players from City just kind of ambling forward. You said it, you know, we were out of position quite a few times, not really showing for a pass, not really looking dangerous with a run, no purpose. And Peoria punished us for it. I thought, personally, the Irish Zidane had a great game, Aiden O'Driscoll, but he had to be everywhere. He was tracking back to cover for people who were caught out on that counter, because they were just kind of checking out what was going on beyond midfield, when maybe they should have been thinking about what they were doing in the moment, and where in the course of play they should be. He's one of my players of the game, John. Who were your standout performers?
Real quick before I get to that, I think what you just described is just like the domino effect of like one crack in a plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we should never have to have Aiden being everywhere. Like, he should be like in his spot, executing, and not having to cover as much. So I think that you just see how much of a domino game soccer really is, where like one the next, it leads to the next. And if Aiden's out of position, then that means that Luca or Aiden Kavanaugh, or whoever's in the midfield with him, need to then figure things out, or an outside back has to cover for that gap that Aiden had to fill because something else broke down. So I think that it was very much a game from start to finish of one thing goes wrong for us, and it becomes a bigger thing organically through the domino effect. But to talk about positives, standout performers, man, how good is Herbert Endeley? Like,
yeah.
I will say, though, that you didn't even get a chance to see Herbert at his best, because honestly, he just came in, and like, he hasn't really trained in the system. So a lot of times when he got the ball, it was like, fuck it, I'm just going to take it because I can beat all these guys. And he would go do that. But being able to like fit within the system to then be able to have his role where he can turn that on in a more advantageous spot is what I think we're going to see out of him in the next couple of weeks. But man, how, like, the difference between like what he can bring to the table, even just in his first match with us, where he kind of had like half of the idea quickly like shoved into his head. Man, organically, that guy can just turn it on. And he was, I think, it was super unlucky not to maybe find the back of the net. But ultimately, my top performer was goalkeeper Martin Sanchez. That game, you know, respectfully could have gotten a little bit more out of hand. I think he stopped 2 breakaways in the first half. He had just a sprawl out save in the beginning of the game from point blank range that was fantastic. And I think it was our main man Tyler who kind of put together a clip show of all his saves. And man, you watch that back end, you're like, wow, like he really stood on his head and kept us in the potential to sway that game in our favor, and did everything he could. And I mean, I'll give credit too. Like their goal wasn't like high quality, but it was a good finish, and he even still almost got to that one. So I thought Herbert did a really great job.
Yeah, there were a number of times where I thought Martin made saves that we would not have seen in the past, right? Just like one-on-one situations, that acrobatic save where he had to like bolt back into position and still fully
Like, set himself.
reset himself and fully extend to what is his upper right to hit that ball away just beyond the post. That was such a nice save. So yeah, Martin is the real deal. Happy to have him on this USL2 team. Up next for us is the most local of USL2 derbies. City travels to Stillwater to take on the ex-Crows of the St. Croix Legends. Like us, John, St. Croix is winless in the USL2 season, having been taken down by Des Moines and Peoria. No draws to their name, however, so we are ahead of them at the table by a point. What can we expect on Friday night under the lights of Stillwater High School?
Well, I think like you have to go and look at the makeup of St. Croix. There's a heavier reliance on some more of the D3 talent, very talented D3 players.
Mhm.
But you look at Des Moines Menace, Peoria, you look at our first team, and yeah, you can say we have some D3 players on our roster, which we do, but they're all like graduated grown-ass men. They're not like 18, 19-year-olds. So it's tough and now I'm seeing it in this league, for someone coming from that level to equal the level and then level up. And it's not, I'm not saying that it can't be done, but that's what's kind of happened to them, is that you've seen a higher caliber of player on paper show the eye test that they can step up, they can put it in another gear, and St. Croix put up the fight until that other gear happens. There's a lot of familiar faces we're going to see, which is awesome for Minnesota soccer. I can't say that enough, that having two USL sides only gives more players opportunity to play in this league, which is, in my opinion, awesome, because it gets the players prepared for their next step or their next season or whatever, and it makes our state better, which is awesome. So I see this as another dogfight, because it's like it's like the old days of playing against VSLT, or how we see us playing against the Twin Stars. Like everyone kind of knows each other, whether it's players that formerly played with us or players that maybe we had an eye on maybe trying to bring in. It's just two familiar foes, and it's going to be a battle. And that's what I love about soccer, is that like on any given day, like you're up for a fight, and I like the fight. I don't like the one-way traffic. So I think that it's going to be awesome to see. I think like organizationally, St. Croix will have the same problems that we ran into when we first started, where it's like, how do you, like, all the things on the checklist you think you have figured out, and then the next thing you forget kind of is actually really important. And then you figure that out. So it'll be good for them to keep on keeping on if the results don't come for them. Same can be said for us. But as a brand new organization in higher level amateur soccer, to keep on keeping on and just like learn from it and move on, win, lose, or draw, will be important for them. But I'm excited for this one. I won't be able to make it out, though. I'm gonna be out of town this weekend, so I'm gonna be trying to sneak a sassy side eye on my phone while I'm with my family to try to
we will
one.
be there, which is pretty sweet.
Well, I mean, I'm really looking forward to it, and I think that like the grand scheme of things for our club is get back on the front foot. Like, regardless of the results going into St. Croix, say it's like a draw, but obviously I want all 3 points. I always do, but if it's like a draw scenario or another like have to fight from behind thing, like, do it in a way where like we can see some change, like have the fight, like win that battle versus the other guy, like put together that performance and make the result be because the other team also leveled up against you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Yeah. No, I gotcha.
So I think that regardless of this one, like, let's make a positive step forward in whatever way we can, because we're gonna have to turn around and start facing the Canucks here in a little bit, and then we do it all over again. We play these guys again.
Well, folks, check out the St. Croix Legends. We'll play them 3 times on the year. Check out St. Croix Legends Social to get details on tickets. The game is at 7 p.m. where the Ponies play out in Stillwater. And thank you, folks, for listening tonight to this week's show. Thank you to our wonderful show sponsor, footballstadiumprints.com. If you're in the market for supremely curated soccer graphic design on anything from mugs to t-shirts to... That's about it. No
underwear,
the prints. Head over to footballstadiumprints.com. Fill your cart up. Don't forget to use the code CROWS10 for 10% off on everything you purchase. And remember that all U.S. orders ship from here in the United States. There's no pesky international shipping fees. And as a reminder, Minneapolis City is a 501c3, so consider beefing up that tax deduction ahead of next year through a charitable gift to the club. If you are interested in getting a hold of us, we've made it simple through the club on Twitter at MPLSCitySC. You can get to us through the show at Twitter at The People's Pitch or via email at mcscpodcast@gmail.com. And that is all for this week. I am Nate. That was John. Game week 4 on the way, and tons of soccer ahead of us. Get out to a game this week and support your Crows.
And you got hoofed. Time to hoof some people. Let's get on the hoofing.
Let's get to hoofing.